Thursday, June 6th, 2019, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Before I start today, I'd like to thank all my viewers, long-term subscribers, new subscribers for their interest in the channel. We just went through 24,000 subscribers. Yeah, that's great. I like to thank also all the people who contribute through their comments, through donations to the channel as well, be it via PayPal, Patreon, through the Maneco 64 store. It all helps diversify the sources of income that the channel gets in order to keep growing and maybe one day make this like a, grow the channel, more videos, more, how can I say, more subjects. So thank you very much. Yeah, diversification is important. There's a lot of risk involved with depending on only one source of income. YouTube can turn off your monetization overnight. Right now, I don't have a problem. Adverts are still running. But anyway, thanks again. Today, I'd like to talk about counterparty risk. I mean, 12, 15, 20 years ago, that wasn't something people were too worried about, in finance or in the markets. People were worried more about market risk, if prices moved of the investment or assets that they held. But nowadays, you need to take into consideration counterparty risk. And before I look into what the markets are doing this morning, I'll talk about that and what's made me want to focus on that. Well, it's what's happened here in the UK with this Woodford investment management company. Yes, their income equity fund was not doing well, but the money was supposedly there. And what do? They just froze the assets. So that's counterparty risk. You've got your money with someone, and he or she like freezes your money and won't give you your money back. That's counterparty risk. And how do you protect against counterparty risk? Well, it's very hard. Diversification helps as well. Having your money with different institutions, 4 or 5. I guess if one does fail, you still have, your assets with others that haven't. But then again, that's very dangerous as well, because during a crisis or systemic crisis, all those institutions could be at risk. And that's why I think it's important and to have a monetary asset outside the system, be it precious metals, physical gold and silver. And if you are going to keep physical gold and silver, you need to be careful. If you want to store it with a third party, you need to be careful of counterparty risk there as well. You could see gold go through the roof, but if the institution that's holding your gold refuses to let you have your gold, that's a big risk. And even when you hold your own precious metals, nothing is safe. So you got to be very careful. The other thing I want to talk about is, can you really trust the regulators? A lot of people I talk about sometimes about investments. There's someone I know at the golf club a few weeks ago. We were talking about Metro Bank, who was a bank here in the UK, small bank that was in trouble, and I think they're still in trouble. And this friend of mine said, I've got some money invested in them, in their bonds, and it's a bond that I can only take out in 18 months. Is it safe? I said, well, I'm not sure, and he said, oh, but it's guaranteed by the deposit guarantee in the UK. The equivalent of the FDIC. And I said, well, you never know. And I saw him again yesterday, and he said, oh, I have some money with one of the Woodford funds. It's not the one that he froze. And I said, well, you better get that money out. And he said, I've done it. I've done it. And then I told him about my channel, and for him to think about gold. The other thing that I think is good and is outside the how can I say, the system, it eliminates counterparty risk, but you need to be very careful and do your homework, are cryptocurrencies. And yes, a lot of people have lost money with cryptocurrencies, mainly because they've left them in an exchange with a third party. And the big advantage of cryptocurrency and the blockchain, and you can Google that yourself. There's loads of videos. I have spoken a lot about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in the past, and there are people that know a lot more than I do, but the general idea is that it decentralizes power, and it also eliminates counterparty risk. You're not at the risk of the banker or the fund manager of freezing your money, but you need to learn how to keep your cryptocurrency. A hard wallet, you need to always be on top of it. These hard wallets, a lot of times, they're basically, how can I say, software or applications. You need to keep updating them, and make sure you keep all the details, private keys, and also your wallet address safe. And yes, so nothing is really secure, totally so, but you need to be aware of counterparty risk. And I think that's going to become a major problem. I think this Woodford incident is, as I said, I think earlier this week, the tip of the iceberg. How many other funds could do the same? Again, it could be an isolated incident, but I'm not too sure. So Woodford is in the news again. Woodford, FT says Woodford fights to save career after losing biggest client. St. James's Place delivers devastating blow to Woodford. St. James's Place is a wealth management group in the UK. They do a lot of pensions, and they had £3.5 billion with Woodford, and they've taken it out. So who else is swimming naked out there? It looks like Woodford was. So it's the old saying, right, of the tide going out. What about the regulators? Yeah, I don't trust them either. Just because something is regulated by the FCA or the SEC or CFTC, it doesn't make it that it's safe. You got to be careful, because the Woodford investment management funds, they are regulated by the FCA, and the FCA has done a bad job. They've let it get to this point where a local authority in the UK, Kent County Council, has had 263 million pounds of its retiree fund frozen. So what about the markets? Well, the stock market continued to rally yesterday. The central bankers have, panicked, in my opinion. As I said, less than about 6 months ago, maybe a little more, we were talking about 2 or 3 rate hikes for 2019. And now they're all backtracking, and it looks like they're going to cut rates again. And as I said yesterday, I think this is like a Hail Mary pass. I remember well when I lived in the States, the Doug Flutie Hail Mary pass for Boston College. That worked, but Hail Mary passes, the odds of them working are very slim, and this is a massive one, in my opinion. ECB today is meeting again. ECB policymakers set to address mounting economic worries, and it looks like FT is saying that they'll probably announce a further round of monetary stimulus or money printing. So this is what it says here. Markets expectations are growing that the guardians of the single currency will have to confront the question of whether to launch a further round of monetary stimulus. So this is an analyst from ABN AMRO, Nick Kunis, says we judge that the ECB will react to a more prolonged economic slowdown by relaunching QE. I mean, they've had QE for years and it hasn't helped. It's like they keep doing things that don't work. That I think there's this old saying about insanity. You know, you do something, it doesn't work. You do it again, it doesn't work, and then you try it again. That's you're insane to keep trying the same thing. So markets have done well. The stock markets, precious metals have done well as well. Yesterday, we had a very big rally again. We did turn around at the during the day and come back down. It was a bit disappointing. I think gold got up above 1340, silver got up above 15, and then everything turned around. But I'm not concerned, especially with what the central bankers are doing. I think people are losing faith in the central banks, and I think people are starting to worry about counterparty risk. And physical gold and silver, are a good place to park your money. What about cryptocurrencies? Yeah, they have corrected after a big rally recently, but I think they're going to keep going higher in general. You need to do your homework. So right now it's 8:15 a.m. London. We've got spot gold at $13.33, up about $3. The range has been $13.27 to $13.34. Silver is up 5 cents, $14.86. Range has been $14.74 to $14.89. So precious metals have rebounded a little bit from the levels where they went back down to yesterday. The Dow is up 23, 25,561. So up about 0.1%. S&P is up 2 points at 28.27. The NASDAQ 100 futures up 6 points, 72.24. So things are fairly quiet right now. The pound is down about 0.1% at 126.69 against the dollar or cable. Euro is at 112.26, up 5 pips, so virtually unchanged. ECB meeting announcement is at it's at 12:45 London time, and then they have a press conference starting at 13:30 or 1:30, which is 8:30 New York time. The press conference. The dollar yen is down 0.25%, 108.19 against the yen, and the dollar yuan is fairly steady, 6.93. Crude oil, WTI is up 0.5%, 51.88. Brent up 0.33% at 60.50. Bond markets have stabilized. Last week we saw, and earlier this week we saw a massive drop in yields, very accelerated, especially long-term yields, which is a negative in terms of showing that there's a lot of risk out there, not only for the economy, but that investors are concerned. We saw Stanley Druckenmiller. He said he's selling all his stock and buying treasuries. But yeah, right now the 10-year yield is at 2.11. It is down 1 basis point. The 1 month T-bill yield is at 2.30. So we are inverted about just under 20 basis points. So there you go. Counterparty risk. Make sure you take that into consideration when you're looking at your investments, which institutions have your assets, and sometimes they outsource also the management of those assets, as we have seen with St. James's Place, as we have seen with Hargreaves Lansdown. These are like financial institutions in the UK. People thinking that they're investing with these people with their funds, need to realize that a lot of the funds with these institutions were with Woodford. So just because it says, oh, I'm investing with such and such a fund, yeah, look into it. Call them if you have to and ask them, who are you holding this with? Are you doing this yourself or are you outsourcing? That's very important as well. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Make sure you share this far and wide with people that you think would enjoy this kind of content. And you can also follow me on Twitter, Steemit, and on DTube. I wish you all a great day. Take care. Bye.